Hey, greetings guys. Hope you're well. In this video, we're going to talk to Mr. Gary Sharpe, experienced tour manager, sound engineer. Gary has worked with bands like Between the Bird and Me and Every Time I Die. And he's just started working with us. We consider ourselves very lucky to be working with Gary. He's going to be a massive part of our team. He's been all around the world and seen some wonderful things, and he's a great guy. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like what you see. And here we go.
This is Gary. He's
He's our new boss.
The poor guy who has to look after us when we go out and about and do gigs and stuff. Was it always an ambition of yours to become anything to do with live music and bands when you were growing up, or literally just fell into it?
No. Yeah. My goal was nothing to do with music. Right. I just started playing music when I was like 15. Ended up playing drums, went to college, saw an advertisement on the wall of the college to push cases at a local venue, and
that was it.
16 years later, I'm now still doing it. It's literally been that simple, and I've just gone after.
What did you go to college for?
Music performance.
Right.
I just wanted to play music. I didn't really care what I was studying.
As a drummer?
Yeah.
As a drummer, right.
Yeah, I was supposed to be learning more, but I just played drums instead. Got drunk before college.
What was that? Was that like a local venue?
It was Salisbury College. It was just a small place. Like the college teacher was great. He was always drunk, and it was just like, well, he did tour with the Wild Hearts for a while.
Did he? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
which
cool.
was really cool. So I grew up with that, and
right.
He was awesome. He came in drunk, send us home early. Let's go and play music.
Sounds like an awesome job. Your job is insane, if you ask me. You are like this guy that controls the chaos that can unfold at any second on tour, and it's just a crazy world, isn't it? That you live in.
I wanted to challenge myself. I've been pushing cases for like 2 years, and I sent a resume off to a cruise ship in January, and I had no idea. Well, I forgot that I sent it, and then in June I got a phone call going, "Oh, can you interview on Wednesday?" Yeah. And by the Saturday, I was flying to France to join a cruise ship for 4 months. So I went out there, came back, and then I went to Singapore, and I ended up perforating both my eardrums.
Right.
So I couldn't do live sound for at least a year and a half.
Bloody hell. Crikey.
So I moved up this way, started working in venues again, and just built my way up. And then all of a sudden, I just thought, I'm going to go freelance. Went freelance, and
that must have been a hell of a blow. That a year and a half's a long time to take out something at that age.
So did that happen whilst working, or?
Yeah, it was while I was working for the company in Singapore. So when I came back, I ended up having to learn lights. So it gave me another advantage.
Oh no!
So I became a lampy for like a year and a half, which was for my sins. But at the same point, I learned a load of stuff.
Well, that's a great skill set to learn, isn't it? That must have hurt.
Like there's still scars on the drums. Like when I have my in-ears made, they always go look in, and they're like, "You've got scarring on the drum." It's like, well, I know that. It's like
how did that happen? If you don't mind me asking.
I was wiring a sub, and like the guy just ended up powering it up, and I had my head inside it, and like it was loads of stuff going on, and it was like super humid, and I was full of cold at the same time. And
right.
It was just rough.
Obviously, the front of house live sound. If you could just do that and not bother with the tour managing side of stuff, which is the organising, the planning, the looking after
a lot of records,
plonkers like us and stuff. But would you consider that to be your primary kind of passion?
I actually prefer the tour managing.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of like the challenge of being thrown crazy tasks. Like I've got some crazy stuff that's happened over the years. That's interesting. That I pulled off. The sound stuff I enjoy, but sometimes it just takes its toll on your ears after a number of years, and you kind of like the silence of sitting out the back in the office.
Yeah. I suppose the thing to do in this business, like you have done, is you'll always hopefully have work because you can do so many things, and if you need to go out and do both jobs at once, you can, to a certain level band, you can say, well, I can do your sound and I can.
And your lights.
That's been the evolution of the industry, though. Like you can't. It's not like it was in the 70s where there was a sound guy, there was a monitor guy.
Yeah.
Now the monitor guy is your iPhone. And your front of house is your tour manager, who is also your driver, drum tech, guitar tech, merch guy. Like it's all just everyone needs one guy to do as much as possible. So
it's the same within band roles as well. Like because I mean, I kind of do a bit of the artwork if I can, and used to design the t-shirts and bits like that. And
I put t-shirts in envelopes and put them in a post box.
Well, you used to drive though, didn't you?
I was a driver for about 7 years. Yeah.
You have to share this role. You can't just expect to be like I sing or I play guitar, and that's
You're
my
getting nowhere if you
Not
don't
in
know.
today's world.
No,
You've
no,
got
no.
to be social media savvy. You've got to cover everything.
You got to do shit like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What was the point when a job came in, like the first big job you got? You know, do you remember a particular moment where you got a phone call? It's like, oh, you're going out with such and such Gary, and you're like,
Like I did a few tours back in 2015 where it was like we were doing like arena and stadium support stuff,
Right.
and like that was kind of cool. But one of my favourite gigs that I got was Every Time I Die. I knew nothing about the band, but I'd heard the name before, and that's what their manager was looking for, someone that didn't know. Everyone like fanboys them, and I just had no idea who they were. But
Yeah,
the
that's
gig
great.
the gig was awesome, and from day one I loved working with those guys.
suddenly you're a fanboy by gig two.
Now they caught me listening to one of their songs in the trailer, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing. It's just a good song, boys."
I'm just learning the
This,
cues.
please.
Learning the cues. Yeah, well, that's cool. So they kind of brought you on specifically so that you didn't kind of have any preconceptions or anything. You didn't pander
Exactly.
to them. Yeah.
Yeah, like
You wouldn't have stressed either, would you? Or worried you was just a band playing some songs to you?
They were just another client, another gig, another tour, and whereas like now I like say we need a merch guy, I'll put it online, and people will come at me for like, oh, I'll do it for like 20 quid for a tour, and it's like, no, like we want someone that doesn't, like, and they've got like I've got ETID tattoos, and I'm like, so like
That's not what
we don't want you, we want someone that has no idea who you are. So
I suppose that's an issue, isn't it? Something you don't think about really. Yeah, you want to.
yeah, because that happens a lot. Like
I bet.
fan girls, fan guys, even in the touring thing. Like that was me when I was 12, 13 years old. Like looking up to bands in my local scene, but. Well, they're quiet guys. Like everyone thinks they're all out there, but they just like to sit back, watch podcasts before the show, and just like really relax.
Show out, yeah.
Really smart businessman.
Have you got to work with any of your idols, like bands that maybe bands that you have been a fan of, and have you ever gone out on tour with them and kept it to yourself? So no, I've never heard of the Dropkick Murphys.
Unfortunately not. Like I love my punk and ska stuff, but like when I accepted the Every Time I Die gig, there was also a chance of me going out with a band that I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
At the same point, but I was like weighing up the pros and cons, and I was like, I want to go that way because if I work with a band that I love, it's going to be potentially a little bit weird. But I would love to go out as support for Dropkick any day of the week and just like watch their show.
I mean, you're making those decisions based on business rather than personal.
Exactly.
Kind of. Yeah.
So when you're out on the road, I mean, you've been out with us a few times now. You're like seemingly Mr. Super Cool. Do you have another side? Do you become Mr. Stressed Gary, or Mr. sort of Mr. Angry, or Mr. kind of shit Gary?
It's usually when I can't like control the situation, like because
you do come across like really.
I can be very calm. If the situation's big, then I'm usually a lot calmer. A few years ago, like one of the things that didn't set me off, we're in Switzerland, we're playing in the middle of the country, we're supposed to be flying out of Geneva, but we end up, the driver takes us to Zurich, so I wake up at 4 a.m. and we're 6 hours away from the airport. And I'm like, you do realise we're supposed to be in Geneva? And he's like, oh. So I wake the guitar tech up, wake the merch guy up, and I'm like, you start unloading the trailer, you do this, and then I go into the airport, and I'm like, yo, we need to kind of book like 10 flights to the UK. We're playing Download today, and we need to be there. So I go in, I just max out the band's credit card, book in the flights, call the driver in the UK to meet us at another airport, and make it happen. But the band didn't know that we were at the wrong airport until we took off.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just focus on that for a second. That's crazy. That's some serious damage limitation.
And the fact that the band didn't, I mean,
that's
they must have absolutely 100% trust in you, and
I just left them sleeping until they needed to be woken up, and I was like, if we can't handle this situation, I'll break the news to them then. But like, we found a flight into the country. We were looking at any airport that would get us somewhere in the vicinity of Download and try and make it happen.
Does it get kind of intense behind the desk? Can it get, are you on it? Do you get, I mean, I can imagine, mate, you do this, turn the guy on the right up. I can't hear the bass.
You do get that, but it's not. It depends on where you are and what venues you are. Because like my goal is to try and tune the whole room to sound the same for all the fans. But there's times where like if you're standing stage right, it will sound different to standing stage left, and you have to try and compensate by making it sort of like the middle sound across the board.
Right.
So you'll get like someone standing way to the right going, I can't hear the stage left guitar player, and it's like, yeah, but he's panned to the left a little bit more, more for the central image. It's like I can't change how the venue works. You know. The worst one was Gig Dad. His son played in the band. Sorry, but your son is actually not a great player. So I
suppose you get. That's what you get through going through the as your career goes. You kind of outgrow that, don't you? I suppose.
Yeah, like a lot of the times it's I was in Virginia and some guy ran up and tipped me like $20 for the sound once. He was like, "It sounds amazing, thank you," and I was like, "That was nice." Okay.
Should leave a tip jar on there.
But like I don't know, like you have your own perceptions of where you want it to be.
Right.
And some days you're like, it's not there. It's not there, and you're just like,
it's so subjective, isn't it? Sound, you know.
Everyone's got different hearing. That's it, and they stand in different spots.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have like a template that you work with, like a kind of, every band's going to be different because they have different instruments and different arrangements and things. But do you have a kind of set way of doing things that's common to every act?
If I'm touring with my own board, there's something that I build every time. Like at the moment, I've got my console set up in the living room with you guys playing through,
cool.
Just like on a couple of speakers, and I'm just building show files. And because like, what is it? It's 2 shows, 3 shows that we've done. And not many, and it's like, so I'm trying to build that show file. So when there's a festival show and there's no sound check, I can literally unmute and it will sound like it sounded in my living room where it's supposed to sound right. Depending on the venue and stuff. But yeah, I try and build from that. There's been other shows where I've had nothing, like one of my shows with one band, they were on Puckle Pop main stage, never mixed them before, never heard their music before, and there's like 50,000 people watching them, and I'm also advancing the tour because I got dropped it the night before the tour, so I'm just like, yeah, cool, I'll make it up as I'm going. So I try to keep a consistent thing, but there's some days where you're just
thrown in it.
You have no idea what you're coming at and how you're going to approach it.
It's how you deal with it, though, isn't it? I mean, the fact that you're willing to put yourself in that position, you know, I guess that's a sign of confidence in your own. I can make this work. That kind of
it's scary. Like you come out sweating with the band, and you're just like fear sweat just dripping on you. Like, I think it went all right.
Yeah.
Like,
so if there was any advice, like any kind of specific golden rule that you could give to bands just sort of starting out to get out to new towns and new places, what advice would you give them?
If you get the chance to speak to the other bands you're on the road with, ask questions. Like, there's no wrong question. Like, learn, absorb as much as you can. Don't spend money on beer all the time. Like, keep it for fuel and getting from A to B. And also just spend time with your fans. That's the key. It's like they're the people that are going to make you really care. And like, just I see so many bands telling me that the fans aren't picking up and they never talk to the fans, and B, they have no money to tour, and it's like, yeah, but you did just buy like 10 cases of beer with like...
and spoke to no fans.
And that's the way it is. It's like stand out by merch, be recognisable, be approachable. And
If you come across people that at venues or crew or anybody, if you find them being dicks to you, don't be a dick back. Just be nice to everybody. And you know, we've found people that we've got off and who've thought they didn't like us. Why were they like that with us? They were funny with us, but you weren't arrogant back to them. And the next time they remember that, and then they're a different person next time they see you. You know, and it's like, and it does pay out. It does pay to be nice to people, even if you don't initially like them or you think they're being funny, or you don't dismiss relationships.
It's a small industry, isn't it? You are going to cross paths again with most people again. So
unfortunately,
and people talk. People, just because you're not with them all the time, people talk about your band. And, you know, decisions get made without you even being anywhere near it about where you're playing and whatnot.
It's not always possible. Like, there are some people that don't allow that, but if you can.
Yes.
Well, just try and approach everything positive and then go from there.
Of all the countries you've been to, what's your favourite country to visit?
Canada.
Right, that took a lot of thinking about.
Yeah, it's always Canada. Like, nicest people.
But that's always the story you told us about the guy. Did a guy give you a lift somewhere? Or?
Yeah. So me and the merch girl were going to see a national park, and the band got bored and decided to go back to the hotel. So we're walking down the side of a freeway to try and catch a Uber or taxi or anything we can find. And then just this old Canadian couple just pull over in their car and they're like, where are you heading? And it's like, oh, we're trying to get back to the town. And they're like, hop in, we'll give you a lift. And we're just like, what? Like,
Yeah.
And then they took us straight back to the hotel and we're just like really confused as to what just happened. But it was even another thing, like I went into McDonald's to order a veggie burger and the guy's just like, nice order, sir. Hope you have a great day. It's like, it's McDonald's, it's a veggie burger.
Order.
It's like, come on. Like,
It's not much of a big deal.
yeah, it's really, really not that
There's
good.
about 5 things to choose from, you know.
Yeah, but the Canadians are just so friendly.
Yeah.
They always are. The country's stunning and it's just an amazing place,
Nice place to be. What did you listen to as a kid, as young Gary?
Yeah. My favourite bands were NoFX,
Right.
Dropkick Murphys, Real Big Fish, Rancid, Millencolin. I like the punk stuff because when I was a musician, it's all I could really play. It was just the easiest thing, and that's how I fell into it.
Is that what you used to play?
A lot of
that stuff on drums?
A lot of the stuff was either punk, ska, and
Yeah.
then I started to get into the metal stuff towards the end, but it was just like...
So is that bands like, did they call them the third generation of punks? Is that,
That's like third wave ska,
Third
and
wave,
stuff like that. But like the punk stuff it's evolved very much since like the days of like Clash, Ramones and stuff like that. It's now become very very different. But I like the slightly edgier punk and the faster punk with a little difference thrown in there. There's 2 record labels that I listen to, like the Fat Wreck and Epitaph. Those 2 labels have all the bands that I listen to.
Right.
Yeah. Did your parents listen to that?
My parents listened to Madness, which was a big thing, and
yeah,
specials and stuff like that. But where I grew up in Salisbury, we had probably 5 of the best ska bands in the country. Every Friday night, there was a gig on at the Art Centre. And
Okay.
It was a ska band headlining it, and it was just, and they were local, but
Yeah.
they were also touring nationally and internationally. So it's how my love for it grew pretty quickly.
If you could be the house venue engineer for one venue for the rest of your days and sort of see the rest of your career out in any venue in the world that you've worked out of, where would it be?
Give it some thought, Gary. Take as long as you want.
House of Blues Anaheim.
Oh.
Mega.
Every time.
So so that's California, isn't it, Anaheim?
It is, yeah.
LA? Is it like a suburb of LA?
It's like on the outskirts,
Right.
sort of more towards the east of the country, but just like only like 40 minutes. But amazing venue. It used to be in Disneyland, but they moved it to like this shopping mall area. But when they built it well. Like I walked in there, turned the PA on, didn't even have to tune it. It was perfect.
Do you ever walk into a venue like that as like a sound guy, because obviously that's your passion, that's your thing, and switch on the PA and have a moment, a bit like a band might walk out on stage? We walked out. We've been lucky enough to play. You know, we always went to play Rock City and the Ritz and stuff. Obviously, and we played them. You walk out of Rock City and you're like, we're all playing Rock City. This is pretty cool. Do you feel that when you walk into certain venues and think, well, I'm going to get to do the sound in here?
Yeah, like Brixton's obviously something that I did earlier this year, and like everyone, it's on like a lot of live DVDs and stuff that. That was interesting. In soundcheck, I was like, wow, this room sounds very weird because of the big tunnel. But then when you're actually mixing it, you're like, holy crap, I'm doing a show in Brixton.
yeah.
This is cool.
Wow,
right?
Thanks for this. Much appreciate
no
you giving your time. You know, it's some really cool stuff.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah.
No worries.
Hopefully we'll get to see a lot more of you and what you do when we eventually get back out there doing gigs again, you know, next year.
Yeah, I know.
Real tours.
Crazy times.
You know.
Hey guys, once again, thanks for joining us. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, wherever that's going to be. Thanks to Gary for joining us today. He's done a few shows with us, and he's definitely going to be a big part of our team when we get out on the road next year. Have faith, it will happen. See you next time.